Welcome to There Are No Words, but We Have a Few, a podcast created by three mothers bonded by the unthinkable, losing a child. I'm Anastasia Brown,
joined by Huie and Valarie Allyn Bienas.
We each have received the call that shattered life as we knew it, whether through suicide, addiction, or mental health struggles. People often don't know what to say to us, so we started saving ourselves. In this space, we speak raw truth about grief, love, and the long road to healing. They say grief shared is grief halved. We're here to share it with you. We recorded these first episodes in my music room, not as experts, but as mothers surviving the unimaginable. If you found us, you're not alone. Join us, for there are no words, but we have a few.
There are no words,
but we have a few.
Oh, well, here we are. I think we're all here today for our sons.
And the shared healing that we are all looking for and we hope to share with others.
And have a little bit of light come into their grief, even if it's just a little bit.
Connection.
Yeah.
Because, the elephant in the room, when you haven't lost a child, it's literally impossible to understand.
Yeah.
And there's no shade in that. It's just literally impossible to understand.
It is.
And so that's why this is our first episode. Girls, yes. Our first episode.
Here we go.
Episode 1 is called The Call.
The Call.
That call.
And also to just back up for 1 second is for us to share with other people that you're not alone.
Yes. Honestly, at the beginning, I lost Rosino 7 years ago, and 7 years ago, after kind of that first after the call and that first impact, I started to reach out literally into the world and go like, gosh, there must be a grief group, or there's got to be like something. Like I Googled grief. Like I actually for days Googled.
Yeah.
Couldn't find anything. And then of course, connecting with Dawn, then Onsite. She encouraged me to go to Onsite, and in fact joined me at Onsite, which was such a gift.
I just went a couple months ago, and it was amazing. Life After Loss.
Life After Loss, an amazing program.
Yeah.
Which
you founded.
My husband and I have thrown a golf tournament once a year called the Peacock Invitational, where the funds go to make the program accessible for everybody, that money is not a barrier for healing. And Onsite curated an amazing group of therapists, and boy, the learning that is available about what goes on with your brain. And then, importantly, just knowing that you're not alone and meeting the other people walking the same path is, I don't know how somebody would do it without having a community or a few people to share it with.
That program is the first experience that I had with community healing. And because I couldn't find anything, honestly, I really couldn't. And so I just kind of isolated and, shut the front door and cut out the world and, meditated and read books and all that stuff. But Onsite changed my life in the sense of not being alone.
Oh, it was like the first time I didn't feel like the elephant in the room.
Right. Which is, like, I don't even know how to explain it. It was just such a great relief.
Well, let's start with you and your call 10 years ago.
Yeah, so I've been on this journey the longest out of the three of us. It's just been a little over 10 years for us. And our situation is a bit different in that his descent from just no concern about how he was going about his life to all hands on deck was just a matter of days, where our son Ryan was 27 when he crossed over, and he had no struggles with addiction or mental health. And then on Wednesday, the week before he took his own life, he started acting bizarrely, and his friends started noticing. And then on Saturday, his brother got a bizarre text and sent it to my husband and I, and we saw him on Saturday, and he was a changed man. At 27, I consider him a man.
Yeah.
And he was exhibiting just very different behavior, and in hindsight, it was like a manic, but it was a manic euphoria. He was so happy and so full of love that our spidey sense wasn't pricked, that this was a call for help. It just felt like he needed to talk to somebody to rein in his flights of fancy. He was just had all these ideas that made no sense. When we saw him and heard him talking for a while, and I'm so thankful my husband and I were with him for that conversation, which ended up being the last conversation we had with him, we just both looked at each other and just said, okay, he needs to meet with somebody. And he was all on board with that. He left our house having a meeting with a client and never showed up to pick his client up. And we found out the next day, we got a call from his roommate who had been out of town. He was living at a house in Nashville, that we needed to come. He had shot himself. We did not have any idea that it was a fatal gunshot, or else we wouldn't, thank you, we wouldn't have been able to make it. And that was so smart on his roommate's part. You know, I remember thinking, oh, what an idiot. He shot himself in the foot. We are not gun people. We were not a gun family. He, when he was in college, enjoyed going to the range. When he went out to Pepperdine, it was just a release for him. He found it fun with friends, and he had his own gun. And we did not realize he still owned a gun, and we wouldn't have been concerned. He hadn't ever talked about taking his own life. He had never struggled with depression. So we got the call, and as we were driving, and we crested a hill, I will never forget seeing the emergency vehicles and going, oh no, this is way worse than we thought. And for years, I could not drive hearing an ambulance. I would have to pull over because it would just flash back, and I would know somebody's life was changing. Mm-hmm. To this day, the best we can figure is that it was a sudden mental break, that he, when we saw him, was exhibiting his first bout of mania from manic depression, and all we can figure is that when he left us, the flip side, the darkness hit so strong and so hard that he had never experienced before, and he didn't know that it would end. So yeah, that call is such, a before and after. Yeah. Your life changes in an instant, and you don't have any clue how it will change everything. You can kind of compare it to that when you have a child and people go, oh, your life will change totally. And you go, yeah, I know that. But you don't have any clue when they come into your life. Right. And then
when they put him into your arms.
Yeah.
Forget about it. That's a day I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I remember it's in pictures. So detailed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Little black hair.
And it's interesting you say that, because it's the same thing with that last day. Yep. I have total visuals of John kneeling and wailing. I remember the weather 10 years ago. I remember what I was wearing.
It's like slow motion almost.
Yeah, it really
Yes.
is.
It's very surreal.
Do you want to talk about your call since I'm the newbie in this horrible club?
Yeah.
It's a horrible club, but
club you
I'm
never
grateful.
want to join.
No. No.
Yeah.
No. Wow. I'm sorry. I'm just like, whew.
Yeah, hearing the stories, it's always...
it just like I was in the car with you in that story and seeing the emergency vehicles and steals your breath away.
Yeah.
That was the first time I've heard the story like that from you.
Oh, well, I tried to...
That's such a difficult moment to vocalize and relive.
Right.
It's so hard. I didn't have to see emergency vehicles because Rosino, he overdosed, a heroin overdose. He was in New Orleans. Sorry, I'm so caught up in your story right now.
Me too.
That was really standing in your shoes and being you in that car. I really had a visceral reaction to that just now because I didn't have that experience. So it's like, I mean, obviously I lost Z. He died in New Orleans, or he crossed over in New Orleans, and Z, Rosino, but his nickname was Z. He struggled, had a 7-year experience with addiction, and had good days and bad days, and had stopped using and then fell back into it, and just a journey. And in that process, I always thought he'd get out of it. I never imagined that the way he would get out of it is to have to cross over. That never crossed my... I mean, it did, of course, cross my mind, because when you find out your child is using drugs, and then specifically to heroin, I mean, the stigma of heroin is like, oh, you're never going to live. You won't survive this. But I always kind of thought he would, and he didn't. And so, he lived an incredible life for 24 years. He crossed over when he was 24, right before his 25th birthday. And he was an artist and a painter and poet, left behind some incredible pieces of art and words that I'm still reading. I have so many journals, and he loved jazz music, and he was just an old soul. And like in Z's case, there were moments in my relationship with him I kind of felt like he never really committed to being here on planet Earth. Like he just was like here, but not really. And he came in fully loaded with so much kind of old soul information. And there were moments I would look at him in his art and in his journey and his connection, or his lack of connection to the planet, in a way where I was like, whoa, he might be one of those that check out early. Like you think about so many incredible young artists that have left the planet at that age.
Way too young, yeah.
Way too young. And I kind of, in his experience as an artist and how deep he was in it, I was like, wow, I had those thoughts. Of course, you're like, you go, oh, okay, yeah, because of Basquiat, or, I mean, there are so many incredible...
There's a 27 Club.
Yeah,
It's Amy Winehouse, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain.
So Rosino, he had like a real, like this meltdown before he went to New Orleans, and he was trying not to use, but like mixing all kinds of pills to not use, and he just lost it. Like he was unmanageable, and so much so that I was like trying to lock him in my house. Like drug addiction can spin out and be so, I do not want to use the word ugly, but it kind of just is the word that's coming to my mind, because I would never, his struggle was so deep, and you don't want to call someone else's struggle that word, but it was, I couldn't manage. I couldn't figure out how to help him.
Right.
He said, I just want to go be with friends. He had some friends, and we had some family in New Orleans. And I thought, I said, okay, let's take a minute. Let me take a minute. I was begging him not to go. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. You can go. I'll be with you every step. Like, and we talked every day when he left. So the last place I saw Rosino basically was LAX. And when I got the call, it rang, and I was like, oh, that's weird. Why is he calling me, right? And he said, Valarie, where are you? And I was like, I'm at Home Depot. He said, you need to walk outside. The second he said that, I knew what the phone call was about. You know, it was just, my heart went from normal to like 1,000 beats per minute.
Yep.
Like, and I looked at Vito and said, I knew it, because I also had that vision, you know, the night before. But so I sort of knew that phone call was coming that day because of the dream I had the night before. And so out I went, and Vito is looking at me, and Tony said, we lost him, Valarie.
Oh, that's a very sweet way to say it.
Yeah, we lost him.
Because that was a shared loss. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I looked at Vito and said, Vito, I just lost my son. And I just hit him. Then I hit the ground.
Yeah.
Hit the ground. He put me in his really old, very cool pickup truck with the windows down because there was no AC. And he drove me home. And I hit the floor at home in the kitchen on the ground. Like, just like, don't touch me.
Yeah.
And then he was so sweet. Like, he called my people, all my tribe. He called everybody. And so everybody just came and picked me up. My friends picked me up off the ground and booked tickets to New Orleans. My sweet friend Sandra, Carolina, everybody got calls, and everybody met in New Orleans to get him. And then I kept thinking that, oh, it was a mistake. Somebody stole his wallet.
oh,
Those were the thoughts I was having. And then going to the morgue in New Orleans.
oh, that's awful.
And then to get his bag of clothes with his cool Chuck Taylors and his Levi's and his great leather coat and his he was so cool. And it was like, I got this bag of cool Rosino stuff. And then had to go to we had him cremated, but before everybody got to come hang out with him. So they brought him, and I didn't want him altered in any way. I didn't want makeup. I didn't want to go through all that. Like, I didn't want to do like that traditional wake or whatever it's called. It was like, no way. So everybody got, like, Sandra, who's producing and working with us on this. Sandra came, my older sister, and my crew, and we all come into the room, and everybody just kind of basically lost it. And so I'm just like hugged him and sat with him. And then when because everybody knew him and loved him. So, and then when everybody I asked, I don't know, I can't quite remember whether I asked or everybody just left and I was alone with him. And I started to look in the room, like, where are you really? Because I know you're in you're here. I know you're here.
Right.
Like, and I kind of hit a corner where I felt his energy. And then I looked at him and I screamed at him. That you promised me that you wouldn't overdose. You promised me you wouldn't do this.
Yeah.
And I got to yell at him and be mad at him, and I got to hug him. I got to love him. And then I tucked this beautiful rose that I found, like, in the quarter in New Orleans, this long stem rose, because his name is Rosino and his full name translates to brown rose. So I found a rose. I tucked it in his folded hands and said goodbye. Oh. And then my ex-husband and my ex-boyfriend were there when he was cremated. They, everybody thought it might not be a good idea for me because I was trying to kill myself. I was like, because I had announced, like, look, guys, I'm out at dinner, very matter of fact, like, okay, this is it, I'm done. Yeah. I've had enough. I can't do this. I want to be with him. So then,
We've all felt that.
Yeah. There are no words for that moment when you go home after the cremating your son, and I had him in I was trying to find like a Louis Vuitton or some cool bag that he would have really appreciated to carry him in. Because I'm like, what am I going to carry his ashes in? Like,
Right.
literally, we went shopping in New Orleans to
wow.
find a.
What a surreal
Can you imagine?
experience.
Gosh. I'm
So-
sure, God.
Salesperson, hey, I need a bag to carry my son home.
Oh, it was crazy. And I was like, you just don't know what to do. So I went
No.
looking for a bag. So I bought 2 bags because his ashes came in 3 boxes because I wanted my ex-husband to have some, so, and so I found a Coach bag. That's the only place I could find. So he's still in that Coach bag, actually. His altar, like I haven't unpacked him for 7 years.
I've
Yeah.
seen it. It's beautiful. His
Yeah.
altar is beautiful. We all have altars.
Yeah.
and they're all beautiful.
Yeah, so that's the call. That was the call for me. And
See, you both had to travel. And I mean, just a 15-minute drive from Franklin to Nashville was enough for me to lose it. And I can't imagine having to get on a plane.
Well, thankfully, Wilson's father did.
No, okay, good.
so you were home.
Okay, no, I wasn't. So I'll do just a tiny bit of backstory. My son Wilson, my father's family struggled with mental illness. All 3 of my father's sisters killed themselves, and my sister was bipolar, and my cousin's schizophrenic, and so I was and it's hereditary. Some people disagree, but you look at my father's family and then my mother's family, and it's 100% different. And so I've always kind of looking for that. And my sister could not maintain friendships. And so when my son was like in 3rd grade, this adorable little guy, he was so gorgeous and adorable and all of it. He was just having a hard time keeping friends, even at a young age. And one time when a friend dumped him, he said, I just want to die at such a young age. And it scared me to death. So I just really kept my eye on that. But it's so confusing. It's just so confusing. And
Mental health makes no sense.
so confusing.
It's
What
very-
to do.
Yeah.
And so when they start feeling confusing emotions and not understanding why, then he started smoking pot because his school forced him on Ritalin, so he wanted to counteract that speed and bring himself down. When he was 18, that's when the drug use exploded. And I went to Al-Anon and I had to let him go homeless. And he did get better. He went to Costa Mesa for 2 years and came back transformed at 20. He's like, thank you. Because he used to hate my Al-Anon sponsor. He hated her. And then he got to meet her and he said, thank you. So,
What was in Costa Mesa?
sober living.
Okay.
And so he came a changed human being. And he was so happy. And so he and his father started, detox centers. And for 8 years, almost 8 years, he was changing lives. At a celebration of life, a lot of young men said, Wilson saved my life. I'm sad he couldn't save his own. Fast forward about 8 years, not exactly, but he had a knee injury, and he didn't tell anyone that he stopped taking his depression medicine. And he wouldn't even tell me his diagnosis, because he didn't want to be like the Wilson family. He didn't even tell me he wouldn't even talk about his mental health. It was shameful. And I asked him, I said, let's talk about it out loud. I mean, look at your dad, your grandfather is an Episcopal priest. He's awesome, but he came from a family of tragedy. Let's talk about it. He's like, they're all losers. I go, no, they're not losers. So let's talk about it so you don't suffer as much. And he's like, Mom, I got this. And how many times I heard him say, I got this.
Yep.
He recovered from his knee. He went skiing, knee injury, really bad one. Stayed in my feminine bedroom after his surgery. And the doctor gave him opiates, and I had my stopwatch going, not 1 minute before, even if he was screaming in pain. And then he recovered, and I said, let's talk about the fact that you have opiates in your system. He's like, Mom, I'm an expert. I got this. I said, no, let's talk about it. He's, no, I got this. And didn't reveal that he stopped taking his Lexapro, I think. I don't know. So then the worry began all over again. Then the more his father and I started to help him, the more he pulled away, and the more angry he got at us, and threatened never to introduce his children to us, because the more we helped, the more he fought back, and the more we lost him. And so when I got the call, we didn't know where he was. My sister had died 10 months prior, and I was just starting to feel, my only sibling, and I was just starting to feel joy again, you know. And I was at a fun work event live in the vineyard in Napa with some of my best friends, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel joy again, because like if you only have one sister or brother and you lose them to heart failure, you feel like you're kind of off balance and you're missing two limbs, you know. So I even though she struggled with bipolar, she fought really hard, and addiction. So anyway, I was in Napa. We were so joyous that we invited everyone to come back to Thousand Oaks from Napa to have a dancing dinner party at my friend Dawn. And so I was in Thousand Oaks. We throw parties all the time, and she does the food and I do the flowers. And I talk to flowers. And so she hands me the clippers. She says, you know what to do. And she went to go prepare the meal. I talk to flowers before I clip them. Might sound weird, but my mom did all the flower arrangement for my dad's churches. So I have, and Latvians love flowers. So I have, flowers are my thing. So I went there and was like talking to flowers, and this huge, I'm telling you, it was this big, bright pink rose said, clip me. And so I clipped it, and I went inside and I said, Dawn, this is the only flower that said yes to my question.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, well, that doesn't really help a dinner party. I go, all right, let me go meditate in your backyard, and then I'll start over. And so I'm meditating, and her standard poodle, who only likes Dawn, was sitting next to me. And I'm there meditating, thanking God. I said, thank you, God, that I feel joy again, and my sister's happy finally, and thank you. And I get this call from Mexico, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's where he is. So I happily, excitedly, because I didn't know where he was, I answered the call and thinking, Wilson, where are you in Mexico? And it was a British man's voice, and it was me and the standard poodle. And he goes, is this Wilson Edward Constantine Pruitt's mother? And I froze. I went, yes. He said, I have terrible news. Your son has died. And I went, what? And he goes, yeah, he's died of an overdose. And I went, it took me, to hear those words is really hard to process.
It
and
is.
then I just started screaming. Screaming and screaming. And the standard poodle never left my side, even though I was screaming. Dawn heard the screaming and thought someone got an animal. She lives on a farm. There's animals everywhere. She thought it was an animal that had gotten gutted. It was screaming. And she was running around the backyard looking for this hurt animal, and then she realized it was me. And she ran and took the phone out of my hand because I was just screaming into his ear. She said, go inside, I will take notes and find out where he is and all that stuff. So I just went into bed and just sobbed and screamed and sobbed and said, no. I think this they might have the wrong person, you know.
Oh.
So I had to call Wilson's dad, and my parents have my friends in Nashville. 'Cause I was worried about Dad having a heart attack once he heard, because they were so close. So my friends Chuck and Joe went over to tell my dad, and thankfully I have a lot of chosen family members in California, and Dawn called all of my best friends, and I was just sobbing in the bed, and it's just, your brain cannot process
Yeah.
that call. It's impossible to process. You just scream and moan and beating your chest is real. I was squirming and screaming, and then everyone was coming over, and I would just keep on screaming. But one of the people was a healer, and a God-based healer, and she happened to be with another friend of mine. She said, can I help you? And I said, yes. And so she's praying over this broken woman, and she said, I'm feeling Wilson, and he's saying he's sorry he let you down. And he asked if you received the gifts he orchestrated as we was crossing over to the other side, the pink rose and Mimi. I went, yeah, that's the name of the standard poodle that did not leave my side.
Wow.
And that's the big, huge pink rose that I never got to make arrangements for the dinner party. I just couldn't come back home for a while because I couldn't stop crying. So finally we did leave. That was on Friday. I got that horrible call, and I was able to stop crying by Monday, and I'm on a plane. And thankfully, 3 of my friends came with me, and then we get on the plane, and 2 of my good friends were flying home. And so I was circled with
that's great.
true friends.
Yeah.
And then I was watching a movie that I thought was safe. And then at the end, the mom was giving her son away at a wedding. Which I'll never get to experience.
Yeah. Oh.
And so I ran to the bathroom and just sobbed. I'm sure the whole plane could hear me. But it was, I didn't know that the movie was going to end.
Oh my gosh.
So that was my call that I think about quite often.
To be surrounded on the plane with your friends.
That was such a gift from God.
Seriously, because I knew instinctively too to do that as well, like to just surround myself with everyone that is strong and like soul connection, my tribe, like
and I was covered when I got to Nashville. Every single person of my tribe was there, and of course my parents.
Yeah. But to not be alone, and to also not have to explain anything because they know.
And like Z, all of my friends were Wilson's friends too.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they were here. They would cook with him, and they would hang out even without me.
Yeah, like
so they lost their friend.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and it's true. Like they're every and it's funny because Rosino, he started channeling almost immediately when he crossed over, like Wilson was actually through Mimi and the Rose, right? So Z, I think, like Z had told me one of the first things he said is to be selfless with your grief. And I remember, like...
That makes sense to me.
Me too, because it's like, wait, because there are so many humans. Yes, it's hitting you the hardest because, of course, I'm his mom.
And we have their DNA in our bodies to this day.
Yeah, of course. So, but to also remember that there are many also grieving him, and to also, in a way, to somehow, and this is such a hard thing to accomplish, but somehow to turn grief into something that is not so devastating in you, to be almost selfless with yourself. And I think it's like, of course, when that loss starts penetrating, guilt comes in, right? Or the feeling of, I could have fixed this, I could have changed this. And when I first lost Z, there was no way that I could even relate to that, because like you said, you're like, whoa, I can't process this. Like you just kind of go, not numb, because of course you're feeling everything, and you're just trying to absorb just that itty bit of like devastation, let alone the wave that's behind it.
And what's so helpful to be our group right here is my 30-year-old son died 1 year ago, in a couple weeks. And you're 7 years in front of me, and you're 10 years in front of me, and it does help to be with other mothers or fathers if you're a father, and I believe fathers struggle with
Oh, yes.
building community. I think they suffer in
They do.
silence,
Which
generally.
is our sons suffering in
Yeah.
silence.
Exactly, and,
all
and
of
they
them.
couldn't admit
Yeah.
they needed help. I mean,
Yeah.
my son stopped taking his depression medicine, and started doing the nitrous and just lots of pills, and he went to Mexico looking for a pill that was better than Lexapro,
Right.
and because there was 4 different pharmacy bottles
Yes.
from Mexico in his hotel room.
It's so complicated when you don't have an addiction like that to relate to the struggle and the journey that it creates for them.
Yeah.
You know, like, because it's like almost like that constant, the move is for the addiction, the travel is for the
They're
addiction.
searching to feel better.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not trying to hurt us.
No.
Absolutely
They're just
not.
desperate to feel better.
Yeah, and it goes back to when they were kids, like you said, like Wilson early on, and similarly, Z struggled early on too. Like I had mentioned in our grief group last night that Z struggled, like literally struggled acclimating, in my opinion, because no medical reason was ever found,
Right.
to acclimating to planet Earth, and how he received the drama and the all of what happens here, and he would get sick every morning without fail, all the way through, every morning, and all doctors, I mean, you have no idea, like gluten-free, dairy-free, everything, this, that, and I feel like he couldn't articulate, and maybe didn't understand himself that he was struggling mentally and emotionally, and
Well, Wilson was afraid to get properly diagnosed
because of your family history.
because of the family
Yeah.
history,
Yeah.
and I think men are afraid more than women. I think we're emotional beings, and I'm generalizing because every man is different and every woman is different. I think Wilson, you can give your psychiatrist any symptom you want to get any pill you
Yes.
want. And if you don't, if you're not really honest with your psychiatrist, you're on the wrong medicine.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I will say about, like, when I first got the call and when I first started realizing I was not going to be able to make it without outside help, and I first found Onsite and Milestones, it's when I realized that Ryan's death had hooked the rest of my crazy train. That
Right.
it wasn't just, now I have to incorporate this new reality into my life. It's also showing me that there are aspects of my childhood and growing up that are being reactivated, this sense of abandonment, and we can have a whole different conversation about childhood traumas that
Well,
show
we're
back
probably-
up.
Throughout our podcast, we will
But
talk about that.
We'll get it.
was-
We'll get it
was
all in.
such an aha moment for me that it's not just, I have to understand, how my son's death is going to change my life. I also have to learn how to live a fuller life going forward and incorporate all the childhood stuff and his death and learn to grow from these traumas, although it's an overused word, but
It's so
it's so
true.
apt. It is, trauma is something that irrevocably changes your life that you were not expecting. Yeah.
So many layers to it. It's like a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
I think too, to dig that deep, like you're digging that deep, is really going into such an expansion for yourself. You know what I mean? Like it's like that loss starts if you choose to face it and go in and wrestle the beast and really try to understand you within the grief. It does force you to look at like your entire experience, because we're redefining who we are from. You almost have to start again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Right?
The
Like-
second you get that phone call, you're a different person.
Yeah.
100%. And then you're like,
100%.
whoa, right? So you go into
Yeah.
what you were saying. Like I find that I have had to revisit my childhood to remember who I was in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, and then when you revisit, of course, it brings up like, whoa, that's why I do that. It's almost like, okay, now I'm dealing with this huge open wound, and all of these little like wounds are now kind of reopened. And it's not just the grief. You're right. That is a really important part of this too. It really is.
Well, and I think that's what's brought us together, is that all three of us don't want to be taken down by this grief.
That is
Well said.
That is my motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I started working on it so quickly.
Yeah.
Because I was in my bed crying for months and
Yeah.
sobbing, and if someone,
And I understand that,
Yeah.
100%.
I
yeah.
love that,
I
the way
love
you
it too,
said
yeah.
that.
So
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is so brave and so powerful to take that stance, because it does mean every layer of your entire being in order to get to a place, where you're functioning.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
I mean, and like good, well-meaning people who love us either say the wrong thing, or there are no words, and so if I would like venture out of my bedroom, and there's always people here, and I thank God for them. I thank God for my friends. But
Me too.
if someone talked about a grandchild, I would run, because I'm never going to have grandchildren, and just sob, and then they would feel so bad. And I'm like, it's not, no one's making a mistake. It's just really hard to hear, and I actually worry if it hurt friendships.
But in a way, don't you, like, in a way, you just brought up like this idea of visualizing, because your friends are so amazing, and visualizing all the faces that I got to, and all the people I got to meet on on Wilson's Memorial Day, that it's like everyone has to acclimate, because everybody is kind of watching and trying to feel you now, and trying to know what to do, and it's scary for them too. Like I just realized that they have to change too,
Oh, yeah.
like,
Right.
and they're
Yeah.
wanting to change, but not knowing how.
Exactly.
Because when you're grieving mama, you're unpredictable.
Oh, you are.
Yeah.
It's
I
like
mean,
the,
oh my gosh.
the triggers.
Yeah.
But-
And we ultimately want our friends to find joy.
100%. And I have so many friends who, when they say something and I cry, or they can tell I'm welling up, and they realize, ooh, I stepped in something, and the minefield moves. You know?
That's a good way.
Moving target.
But they'll go, oh, I didn't want to make you cry. And I go, you didn't make me cry. The situation is sad. It's not an outward thing that is making me cry. It's a sadness inside
losing your
that
son.
will get pricked.
When Wilson said to you, "I've got this," don't worry, I've got this.
I got this, Mom.
It's them protecting us. I heard that 9 million times as well. Don't worry, Mama, I'm not going to overdose. Don't worry, I've got this.
I know, same with Wilson.
Yep.
I said, Wilson, there is fentanyl in every drug these days.
Yep.
It kills. You don't have this.
But I think they tell us that to protect us as sons to mamas.
Well,
you know what I
and
mean?
I will
Like-
also say, as somebody who has struggled with addiction for years, and I have said, I got this, give me one more chance, I can do it on my own, kind of thing. I really thought I did. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I felt like, I got this. I'm smart. I can figure this out on my own.
That's fair.
It
That's fair.
wasn't a protection for anybody else. It was a true belief and a lack
Okay.
of understanding on the talons that addiction can get into your body that you can't do on your own.
Right.
And you can't think your way out of it, which is what I was trying to do. Because your guys were smart. Your
Yeah.
sons were smart, and they were like, I know I can figure this out.
Oh, that's good to hear. Oof.
Yeah, I really don't think Wilson thought he was going to die from
Same.
the drugs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the medicine.
No.
In his mind, he was searching for something to help his brain
Right.
speak, because he was so mean to himself inside of his own thoughts.
When you first talked to him in heaven or on the other side?
While he was crossing over.
Yeah,
almost.
while he was crossing over and he said, I'm sorry. What did he say
He said,
exactly?
"I'm so sorry I let you down."
Right. He didn't think he was going to cross
No,
over.
he I feel with all of my body that he did not want this to happen, and he really thought. I have a motherly sense. He really thought he was going to get this out of his system and get his life back in order. It was that last year was pretty filled with. We don't have time for all of it this episode, but we did it.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it. We did it.
Episode
My
1.
warrior
Yes,
peoples.
yes.
Warrior peoples. You said it the best. You didn't want this to take you down.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
It
did, whatever
hasn't
you
taken us down.
It hasn't.
No. And thankful that we have each other.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are stronger together.
Yes,
Yeah,
we are.
absolutely.
Once again, our podcast is called There Are No Words.
But we have a few.
Told you so.
A lot of them.
A
A
lot,
lot of them. So many words that it's going to be, there will be a lot of episodes.
Yes. Hey, thanks for listening. We really hope you felt seen and just a little bit less alone. Grief is something you don't have to carry by yourself. Whether you've lost a child or love someone who has, know that this space is here for you. We're learning as we go. We appreciate your patience with our process and welcome feedback. Be sure to take care of your heart. We hope this podcast will help with that. This is There Are No Words, but we have a few. Thank you for listening. Join us at There Are No Words, but we have a few.